Welcome to Trace Talks. This is our introduction to antiques, and I'm Trace Mayer. In the next couple of minutes, I want to introduce you to basically the history of antiques from 1700 to 1820, which we consider the golden age of antiques and what we also consider the investment grade pieces that you're going to see in most museums and galleries around the world. Now, this can be a super daunting task because there's an incredible amount of effort that we will find put into teaching art history, but when it comes to teaching antique history, there's not quite as much of it out there. And even though it can seem really tough, in the next few minutes, we're trying to give you a couple of really basic principles that will take you through this 120-year period and very simply to be able to go into any gallery and distinguish time periods of these pieces in a sequential manner. And we're going to do this in 3 chairs. And not only the 3 chairs, as you see lined up here, but I'm going to basically concentrate just on the legs. And we'll start with this first chair, which is a nice English walnut piece that dates roughly 1700. And what I'd like to point out especially is this curve. This is what we call a cabriole leg, and it's all about this S shape. And this S shape is really fantastic, and you're going to see it not only in the leg, but like with most pieces, it's going to be a harmony that's reflected throughout the rest of the chair. We'll see that here in 3 dimensions, front to back, in not only this, which is our lumbar, the very first part of lumbar within Western society, but also left to right. And hopefully you can get a good shot of that great lumbar support there. So this is a really wonderful, early, and incredibly comfortable piece. What we're going to find is that slowly over time, this S shape is going to become a little bit stiffer, not quite as cantilevered, not quite as dangerous as before, but in that evolution, it's also going to add quite a bit of carving. And when you see this, it'll be more popularly known as the Chippendale time period, and we'll see that motion from this leg evolving into this one, where I think you can get a better angle over on this side. The whole chair is really not as much about these curves like you saw in the first one, but much more about the carvings. You have this great acanthus, you have this cartouche, and what's reflected again, not only in the leg, but you'll also see throughout the rest of the chair. You're going to see this on the back. You have this great reticulated splat, and even though you have the curves from left to right and front to back, like you did on the previous one, it's a bit more restrained, and the emphasis, again, is not on those curves, but it's on those carvings. And so you're going to see this in this middle time period. You're going to go from the curves, very smooth surface, and then you're going to evolve slowly into this. It's not just overnight where they all of a sudden decided to do this, but a slow evolution into this. And then what you're going to have is a really incredible evolution after the American and the French revolutions, where the exuberance, not necessarily the wastefulness, but the over-the-top natural embellishments aren't going to be as fashionable. What was fashionable for the kings is not necessarily fashionable for democracy. And with the rise in neoclassicism, the rise in democracy, you're going to see that reflected within the decorative arts. And where that's going to take place as far as our purposes go is within this leg is the austerity and the geometry and the tapering that you see right there. Now, a huge difference when you go from right here with this Rococo or Chippendale style in this middle time period, 1740 to 1780, to boom, right here, nice, elegant tapering. Now, it doesn't mean that this is any less difficult to make, because you look at the rest of the chair, and there's still quite a bit of carving, but it's not doing the same thing. It's trying to emphasize a lot more geometry, a lot more classicism, even the discoveries at Herculaneum that have taken place, and also Pompeii, which will be a little bit later after Herculaneum too. But it's more of the ideals and the principles that are coming behind it. Now I'm getting a little bit more in depth than I planned to. I wanted to make this a quick, easy lecture for you. But as we review, we're going to start with 1700. And for that middle style, it's just curves. Around 1740, we're going to take those curves, and we're just going to carve them up. And then around 1780, just to make life easy, tapering. That's all it is. Just a nice tapering leg. And so through those 3 legs, you should be able to take care of not only the time period from this, what I said was the golden age, but also as it reflects again, over and over again, for the next 200 years into what we see today in today's styles. thank you for your time. We hope you've enjoyed this introduction, and we plan to expand on these lectures to involve a lot more terminology, history, and a bit adding more context into the greater world of this time period. So if you want to keep up with us on social media, we look forward to seeing you there, and have a great day.